It looks like we're running normal now. That's what I like to see. Ooh, that's what I like to see. That's what I call butter biscuits right there. All right, let's get these last two platforms on. Boop, boop. Come on in, invite a friend. Matter of fact, invite about 10. Cause it's Floating Yogi's book club. And we about to go in. We about to get a little bit of this knowledge. So like I said, come on in, invite a friend. Matter of fact, invite about 10. Cause they call me the Floating Yogi. And this is my book club. And we about to learn a little bit. What we reading? How yoga works. Yes. Let me adjust this camera a little bit so y'all can see what we doing over here. On this side. Boom. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I'm gonna do exactly that. I'm gonna invite some folk in. Boom, 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 boom. So we can vibe, we can chat, and we can see where we at. We are reading like I said, how yoga works. It has been saucy, super saucy, and I encourage you to get a copy if you haven't already. And while I'm here, boom, I'm done with those invites. Hey, what up, Peter? Some of the people who help me be me, help me do what I do. We got pay over. They're part of the crew. My guy DJ Tony comes from a dimension where people are our greatest resource, and that's exactly what he is for me. A fantastic resource. You can catch him at the daily meditation and movement accountability on the UEIG. Also, you can catch him daily giving a daily meditation prayer, or more so 5 breaths and prayer affirmations in the morning. Sometimes he crack a good joke. I'm just telling you, sometimes we just need a moment to be human. That's a simple way to put it. And that's exactly what he provides. And he enjoys doing it, getting the interactions. And that's what's been feeding him. And I encourage y'all to just tap in, just to say what's up, see what prayer is going for you. Because I swear, some days he just be hitting what I need. I'm like, you know what? I can use a little bit of that. I ain't even see it that way. I appreciate that. And now I'm walking through the day with a little bit more appreciation, a little bit more gratitude. And that's a little bit more grease or buttered biscuits to slide them blessings in my way. All right. Someone else who helps me be me, do what I do. We got my dude Brent. He's part of the crew too. He'll get all your digital assets together, get your social medias looking all nice and saucy, and your and any of your streaming platforms, saucy stuff too. So check out the UE YouTube, Floating Yogi's YouTube, and see how everything's organized. It's pretty dope. We also got Lifeform, fantastic mats to learn those on-mat lessons, so then you can take them to these spaces, take them to these places where we can take those on-mat lessons off of the mat and into our day-to-day life. If you'd like to be part of the growth gang, if you'd like to sign up to join the Zoom room so we can chit, chat, chop it up, and make it happen, I encourage you to sign up on the UE website. It is free 99. You only have to pay attention. So sign up at courses.uedc.com and create your account. You'll get access to all the community tips and tricks and fun stuff. All right. So you're kicking it with us. Hey, he's kicking it with us. Ha ha! All right, I give you a little recap of this interesting book that we going at. We got that's the wrong one. How yoga works. It's about this girl. She's traveling through Tibet to India. She's crossing the border. She's got this book that they're like, yo, you stole this book because it can't be yours. And then they was like, all right, well, to prove that this book is yours, you got to teach me yoga. And then she has successfully taught the captain of the jail yoga and healed his back. And last week, he just admitted, I know the book is yours, but I can't let you go. So now she is knowingly falsely imprisoned and treated like, a prisoner. And still has to help the man. Ooh, all the lessons, all the times for introspection and realizing our triggers and ways to work around it to get us in a better place later. Ooh. Let's dig in. We are on chapter 29, 197, the third week of September. Problems, boomed the captain. All kinds of problems. The minute you go back to your cell, all kinds of problems come up. I have to live with them for a whole week. I smiled. The great teachers likely like my uncle back home or Katrine, they would love when their students come back with problems about what they've taught them. It shows, first of all, that they were listening, and secondly, that they're thinking. I love how that started off because, yeah, that's exactly it. You got some problems? Awesome. I bet I have plenty of the same. Let's effing chat about it. It's going to be hilarious. But I love that you've actually been paying attention as well. I love that you've been incorporating some of the things that it's actually getting through to you and means something, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I heard what you're saying. But did you hear about what happened in insert popular headline here? Moving forward. Go ahead, I said. Let's start with them. But one at a time, please. And clearly stated. He did that little frown of his and then went on with an excitement that was lovely to see. I mean, I've got lots of questions, but how about just the obvious one first? I mean, he paused so he could say it right. I mean, I had it back. I had that bad back for years and years before you fixed it with the yoga. And then suddenly he got stuck. Even before he had reached where he'd gotten stuck. With the yoga, it became a question now. I mean, did you fix my back with the yoga, or did I just start seeing it different as fixed rather than hurt? Because I guess because maybe the old seeds wore out and some new seeds opened up? It's a good question, I said first, and one of the most important you could ask. And you have to buckle down and listen carefully if you really want to catch the answer. His frown deepened into a positive scowl of concentration. I put my hand up to his face, middle finger between my eyebrows, thumb and pinky at the corners of my mouth, and pushed up. He gave a little laugh and loosened up his face, which had the effect of making his concentration even deeper. How your back got fixed was that you did the yoga. While the yoga worked on you was that, yes, some different seeds in your mind began to assert themselves and the old ones wore out. So what you're saying, he said, is that at some point in the past, I did something like, say, hit someone in the back. He gazed up at the ceiling, calculating, and then back down at me with a tinge of embarrassment. Or maybe you could say, maybe I did it a few times. Perhaps, I allowed. And then at some point, those seeds I planted, then they ripened in my mind. And the images I had in my mind as I hurt someone's back, they've come back into my mind. As my mind forces me to see my own back as hurting, the same way my mind makes me see the green stick as a pin, and the cow's mind makes it see it and use it, I added. See it and use it, he continued, as something good to eat. So far, so good, I said. And then after a while, those seeds, those bad seeds, I guess, they started to get old and started to wear out, as all things which do anything, I added, while they do what they do, the energy they have to do anything to us or open the energy they have to do anything to us. The energy they have to do anything to us or for us wears out simply as they do it. And I nodded to continue. And then say some other seeds that have been sleeping in my mind, they wake up and take over creating the images, the things. The images, the very things that I see in this case, the new seeds, they make me see my back is cured, is fixed. See and be fixed, I added. He nodded. And these new seeds, if there any justice in the world, and you give me real hope now that there is real justice in the world, this is a police officer not thinking that there's justice in the world. Moving forward, this is a fiction, or is it? I don't know. Who knows? Do 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 do. Oh yes, he exclaimed. Got to get that imprint into the mind, right? And so these new seeds must have been planted when I watched myself do something like, say, help a sick person or help someone in pain. Exactly, I said in admiration of his instincts. Which brings me to this question, he rattled on. I mean, if it was the seeds in my own mind that made me see my back get better, made it be better, I added, then why do yoga at all? He beamed with a glance to the center of the room, and then it really was such a warm and muggy day that I couldn't blame him. Listen carefully, I said. The yoga made your back get better. It wouldn't have made your back get better if you hadn't had seeds in your mind to see it get better. The seeds that made your back get better made you try the yoga, made you attract to the yoga in the first place, made you think it might work, made me walk into your office that first day, made the master's book be in my bag, made the poses and the sitting loose in the knots and the channels within your back. Do you see? He looked up at the ceiling for quite a moment. It hadn't quite arrived, but he was close. But if I'd never tried yoga, he pressed on, those new seeds, the seeds to see myself getting better, well, they still would have opened up and they still would have made me see my back get better. Not the point, I said softly. Think hard, think carefully. The fact is that they did open up when the yoga came to you, and when the yoga fixed you. They made the yoga and what the yoga did for you. You had to do the yoga because you did the yoga. He looked at me steadily, really, really trying hard to work this out. It's not supposed to be a quick, oh, I got everything he's saying, I'm picking up what you're putting down. But he's saying something in here. Well, she's saying something in here. Let us see. It will come, I said, and I'll tell you something. It helps a lot at this stage if you really ask all the teachers you see, your own teacher, your teacher's teacher, and so on, all the way back to the master Patanjali and long, long before him. Ask them to help you. Ask them to come in their own invisible, untouchable way to help you understand. And they will. I paused, so it would sink in. And then I said, you haven't actually got your first question, you know, I said with a smile. Oh, yes, yes, he said, coming back to himself. He drew himself up like a real captain and then proclaimed, there's a problem with what you said before. I mean, I smiled, wondering how many problems he'd find with the latest ideas. What I mean is, he went on, well, let's say that there really is some kind of justice. I mean, some kind of justice on a grand scale. And he waved his arms around, big to encompass not just the old mud jail, but the entire universe beyond its walls. Well then, first of all, since my back hurt me for more than 5 years, and if, according to what you said, some kind of seeds in my mind made me see it that way, the way you see the pen, I nodded at the poor little stick, and to remind him that we both already agreed on this point. Well, yes, the way I see the pen, but anyway, that means that I must have beaten people on the back nonstop for 5 whole years, whereas he gazed up at the ceiling, calculating again. Whereas I never did any such thing. I mean, never for a period of time, even remotely. He glared up and calculated again. The years with the sergeant cleaning up the gangs, I thought they must have been something, even remotely, he repeated with confidence. Approaching 5 years in a row. So there seems to be no problem with the idea of seeds, he concluded. Ah, I said. Seeds. We need to talk about seeds. We need to talk about how seeds work. How do those seeds that we implant in our mind work? How do they blossom? How do they come whole perspectives? Belief systems. Ways that we see the world. Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm here for that. There's a short list of rules that govern how these seeds in our minds work. Just as there are laws of nature that govern how, say, corn seeds work. We'll cover them today. It's not much, really. The master opens this conversation with the first and most important rule of all. He says, there is a connection of cause and effect. The seeds ripen into experiences refreshingly pleasant or painful in their torment, depending on whether you have done good to others or done them wrong instead. You get what you give. That's the vibe I'm getting right here.
I just argued against karma less than an hour before this book club started.
How are you going to argue against karma knowing you're coming to a book club because you wanted to have this conversation? I am interested in your stance, sir.
Well, first off, it's one of the unknowns. We can believe in balance, and we can believe that the universe is balanced. However, we can also look around and see unbalance all around us. So if we can see unbalance all around us, what makes karma such a universal absolute? I believe that there are some bad people who will never see, any consequences for their negative action. I believe there are some good people who will try their whole lives and not make it. I don't believe karma always does the justice that we would like to ascribe it to.
I 1000% agree with that. Karma does not give the justice that we want, nor does it keep everything in complete balance in the sense of the word.
That's those quotes. That's where it is.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's about when you create a vibration that at some point it hits something and it comes back.
Well, see, that's not the same. We can talk about that. That can be the law of attraction. That can be the law of vibration. That can be a lot of universal laws.
Shelly,
but
Brent.
You know what? Maybe I'm a Google karma.
I mean, mine's a little bit more like the law of vibration more than. It's karma
but
too.
You know me as a word guy.
Yeah, same.
Standard. Okay. So karma in Hinduism and Buddhism, the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding the fate in future existences. Informally, it's referred to as destiny or fate, following as effect from a cause. So basically, first off, the real karma, where it comes from, means it also includes previous states of existence, which was my first point that I made to pull my person away from their extreme view. It was, well, they may not get it in this lifetime. And that also opens up the possibility to they could be paying for past karma during this lifetime. And that's all more than we can ever know. So I can't prove or disprove that. Period.
I see where you're going with that. Shells. What up, dolphin? Da. Hold up, that's SpongeBob. You know where we're going. Da. That's still SpongeBob. Ah, it'll come to me. I think the big. I think the big difference is perspective, and because of like how we live our life and how we pay attention to the things that are around us, um, we're not really able to see the grand scale of things. We're very self-centered, and that's how we're able to live, I believe.
Lifetime oriented. That's less than 100 years. And
Yeah.
what an avatar. It was like 100 of them avatars, yo. We're just looking at like one hundred
Blip
years
of
cycle.
them. Yeah, and that's if we get that 100 years too. And then through what lens are we experiencing that 100 years on top of it? Because what you doing, like, there's so many different types of reality that you could experience. The world is vast. Possibilities are truly endless. All right, I'm just question. You know, you what you put out. I believe what you put out comes back. It may not come back exactly how you put it out, but it's gonna come back. You know. All right. And so the first rule of the seeds is it's something you would guess, something that you did guess already. If there really is some sort of huge perfect justice in the world, and it's that when you do any action at all that hurts someone, then the seed is planted in your mind, which will ripen later on and make you see something unpleasant because you have a painful experience. Equally so, whenever you do anything that helps someone, a seed is planted in your mind that will ripen and make you see something pleasant, an enjoyable experience. And remember that the seeds, again, are planted simply by being aware of yourself doing, saying, or even just thinking something which is positive or negative. It's all about our outlook, how we're viewing things. That part is all right, he said, a little impatiently. That's the whole attraction of this way of viewing the world. That bad things you do come back to you as pain, while good things come back to you as pleasant experiences. Because of a short universal law that simply and all right as airtight as, let's say, the law of gravity. And that thing is about how seeing yourself do something presses an imprint into your mind. That's great. That goes a long way in making me believe the whole thing. But again, why 5 entire years of back pain when I never did anything like that to anyone? You don't always get it the way you dish it out. Just because it come back and smack you in the face didn't mean that you walked outside and smacked someone in their face.
The same way how everybody can't show up the same way. Or you know what?
Yes!
This
Yes!
way. No. Even more simply than that. Because that implies that it's a choice to some degree. But it's not. Even if someone shows up the same way as you, even if you have a twin, you have different DNA. Even if someone shows up or has your same love language, you both have different prior experiences that got you to that point. Even if you have decided this is the way, there are still, for some reason, y'all can both do it the way and somebody still do it wrong.
Yeah.
So,
I love that first point, yo. I love the first point. We show up different. We are different. So just why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't things come back differently? Especially when you throw it out there and then it goes through all those different minds, eyes, energies, and then it's coming back to you. It's gonna have a little bit of that mix in there.
Also, perspective perspective determines what things are. Perspective determines your reality. Period.
Period.
And that being the case, we cannot have this. It's impossible to have the same perspective, getting it out and bringing it in, because that's two different perspectives on its own.
Bum bum
Like even when
bum.
you're looking in a mirror, that's why mirrors are mirrors to other dimensions.
Ooh. We gonna pin that one. We gonna pin that one. We gonna pin that one. Mirrors are portals to other dimensions. Pin. First things first. He's never did anything like that to someone's back, so why would his back hurt? First things first, I caution him. Now, this first rule of how it all works says that nothing can ever happen otherwise, meaning you can never expect a pleasant experience to develop from a negative action you've done, and never an unpleasant experience from a positive action you've ever done. I pause to let that sink in, and for everyone's automatic reaction to this idea to surface in his mind. The captain frowned a bit, didn't catch himself, and then blurted out, "Problem right there too. Problem with the first rule before you even got to my question. I mean, what about all the things that people do and make other things happen all the time, and which obviously break this first rule of yours right from the start? Like what?" I challenged him. The captain glanced up at the ceiling. "Well, just about everything, really. It's so obvious, but all right, let's start with a simple one. You sit in your cell for 3 days and weave a nice Tibetan-style rug. The sergeant takes it down to the market, to one of the little trading stalls there, and meets the owner, and they begin to haggle over the price of that rug, how much the rug will fetch. At some point in the conversation, the sergeant claims that the rug is worth double whatever is being offered, and it doesn't matter what he's being offered, because he'll always say it's worth double that much. He explains with a very straight face that it took his sister 3 weeks to weave this extraordinary rug, and there's no way he can take less money for it, or she and her child, I suppose, that's the dog you see, will surely die from hunger." I smiled. And so it works, you see. The lie works, and the man gives the sergeant the full amount he asked for, and there you have it. The very first rule of seeds is broken already. A lie produces a wonderful profit, and so it's not true that the negative action can only produce an unpleasant result.
Now hold up. Now, camera frozen again.
Yeah.
But this is the same sergeant that's already come to her for help, and the captain doesn't know, right? I drink a lot, so I need you to confirm.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Actually, yeah.
Like, this isn't a trick question. Like,
yeah, I be having to check, because you be throwing them curveballs, yo.
Well, see, I've learned to be trifling like you sometimes. If I don't ask the question directly, then I can't be wrong. Or something. I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so this is the same sergeant that's suffering, and she knows about his suffering that the captain may or may not know about. But also, that's an egotistical part of the captain's side. Like, he doesn't know someone else's karma to say, like, so we didn't get into it when we just talked about it. We said, maybe in a past life or a future life. But the main point of going to that extreme for me was to skip the conversation with my friend about the karma you can or can't see. Because that's the first thing. The first tangible thing, and the first thing most people go to is, man, you don't know if that bad person is really suffering at home. Man, rich people commit suicide. And I'm like, okay, but if we just talk about past and future lives karma, then that's already more than you can see. So we can just skip that whole part too. But the captain right now, for me, is like using too much of his imagination. Like, that's an unnecessary stress that I will never have.
He is focused. He is honed in connecting the things that they talk about. They meet once a week, connecting the things that they talk about and extrapolating it over his entire life, everything within his perspective. And you're bound to find some contradictions, and that's why there's multiple rules for some of these things that are coming up. I get that. Because it's like, an exclusion doesn't disprove the rule. An extreme doesn't doesn't exclude the rule. It doesn't like disprove the rule. It can still exist with some, outliers. And the point about the karma you can't see, that's the big kicker. A lot of times, like how you said, people use their imagination to assume that they already know what people should deserve and what people should receive and how things should go. Big ego trip. I like it. We'll see what happens. We see what happens.
If you just mind your business and don't assume to know things, the world would change immediately.
Yeah. Assumptions are throwing people off. They create a lot of miscommunication. And that's a lot of the issues that people have with each other. Okay. You sit in your cell, blah, 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 blah. I smiled. No, you'll surely die of hunger. I smiled. And so it works. You see the lie where I read that. Unless you find extra money unpleasant, he mused quizzically and shook his head. No. I can't say that the sergeant would find extra money any problem at all. But then he looked up at me, dead serious for an answer. It's still not your first question, I laughed, and he nodded, but we both knew it had to be answered. And so I gave you the answer. The sacred answer to the question that it has bothered all humankind for time with no beginning. How can an action which is clearly wrong have a desirable result? How can something like a shameless lie bring a person extra profit? The answer is, you see, that the first rule is not broken. Extra money, for example, comes from an imprint that was planted in the past when the person involved here, the sergeant, was generous in giving to someone else. During the course of his discussion at the market, the seeds ripen and forces his mind to interpret some heavy circular object as silver coins being pressed into his hand by the person who bought the rug. At the same time, the sergeant has just pressed new imprints into his own mind from the negative act of lying to someone else. At some point later on, these new seeds will ripen in his own mind, and he will have an experience in an assortment of various sounds and tones coming out of someone else's mouth as a pack of lies meant to mislead him. You see what happened there? What I mean to say, my dear captain, and here I drew myself up very tall the way Katrine used to, all these at these same crossroads of elegant truth. What I mean to say is that telling the lie had absolutely nothing to do with getting the extra money. The captain just stared at me blankly, only once over the next 2 minutes, passed in perfect silence. Then he stirred himself. "But that's impossible, you see," he whispered. "Impossible. Utterly impossible. Why if what you just said is true, then almost every single action undertaken by the millions upon millions of people in this entire world from hour to hour throughout this entire lifetime does nothing at all but bring them the things that they thought those actions did. It's impossible. Too much. How could everyone be so wrong about the most basic thing there is, about why anything we ever do ever works at all?" "Perhaps," I answered softly, looking out the window. "Perhaps somewhere in there lies a clue to why all of us end up losing everything in the end." And we never did reach his first question that day. But we did do the poses and sitting down to give and take and planting the real causes. Ooh, ooh. He ain't like that answer. That's what you would Payoga would call being ratchet or being ghetto or being trifling. Being trifling.
I was about to unmute and scream that. I was like, I know what word you're looking for. It's trifling.
Yeah, that's where it was. I was searching like a mug, yo.
Trifling.
Let me see how long this chapter is. Oh, this chapter like almost 10 pages. The gardening begins. Let's see. Can we get this in? 10 pages in 10 minutes?
I think that's going to be pushing it today.
Yeah.
But we pushed it before. I think we're pushing it. How you feel? I feel like we can chop up more about karma. I feel like we can skim the chapter. I feel like we can talk about what you got coming up in 2015.
Hey.
I feel like we got some sound baths. I feel like you ain't let me intro the UEDC meditation check-in. I think I caught the tail end of it, but you can't do it justice no more.
Alright, go and drop the pin about the UE.DC IG stories and the prayer in the morning. I did botch it. I did botch it. I agree.
Alright, so we got all this extra time, so I'm gonna take some of it today. Hi everybody out there in Jarrick land, in the floating Yogi land, out there on social media and whatnot. I am Tony, the not floating guy who who believes that people are our greatest resource. Like, that's something I developed in the 6th grade. And I'm now 36 years old, living my truth to its fullest extent, which means every day I wake up desiring to love more, to love my people better, to love more people who may need it if they need it, to love myself. And so I go live and I say I love you, and I take 5 breaths, and then I pray for you. Like, I do that for you because I look at me when I'm looking at like the live video, so I'm talking to myself too and whatnot. And I do that, and then I hop on over to UE.DC on IG, and I do the daily meditation check-in, because then I get a shout out the next day, which is another reminder to meditate. Real simple question. Are you moving and meditating, or are you sitting on your greatness? Because if you are not moving and meditating, then you are stagnant. You cannot grow if you are not feeding yourself what it takes to grow. Anything that doesn't grow shrinks. Anything that shrinks dies.
And I'm gonna tap in and say, stop bullshitting on your greatness. You already doom scrolling. Go on to the stories. Go and sit down, meditate, go to the stories, vote and share the next day, because we're going to drop you a little shout out. What else is going on? It's a bunch of fun stuff happening, yo. We got the movement portion of the wellness practice that we're encouraging people to start. That is Monday through Friday at Sun and Moon Yoga, 6:30 to 9 a.m. We also have a residency at Flow Yoga Center Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 12. So I can see y'all at both places. You can double dip the chip, bloop, bloop, or just, once today and then once tomorrow is perfectly fine. That's great. And we also have the Tranquil into Loom Yoga Retreat with myself and Nadia Star. Oh my gosh, we got 4 more rooms left. The space is beautiful. The plans are transformative if you want it. Or you can have a great time. Or you can be part of the healing, because that's what we're here for. I mean, you don't really have too much of a choice, but everything's optional. But now, bring for the healing. If you're not coming for the healing, We'll kick it in DC. Yeah, come for the healing. We got some transformation happening. Some tranquil transformations in Tulum. T3 T's. What else is there? We got another sound bath coming up. I'm not able to advertise that one. My calendar is recording me at the moment. That's real. What else is there? Yo, it's so much stuff. It's literally classes 6 days a week. So tap on the UE.dc website and let's grow. It's that simple. And Thursday, we got the book club every Tuesday night at 8:30, and we got the midday mind right every Thursday at 12. So come on, let's take a quick break from the day and, close the apps so we can come back a little bit more focused, a little bit more level-headed. Any questions, comments, want to work on anything, find ways to tap into the community, hit me up, send an email, info@thefloating yogi or support@ue.dc. Peace.